really being able to look at it from the outside and be able to be honest with yourself. And that's something that's pretty tough, because especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're used to controlling things, doing it your way, and um, just getting things done. And sometimes there's better ways to do things, sometimes than the way that you're doing it or have been doing it. And you need to be willing to seek out those who can give you that other perspective.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with homeinvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com/pillars to claim your free course today. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and with me today is Bill Manassero. Bill, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Todd.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. And a little bit about Bill. He is the host and top dog of the Old Dawgs REI Network. Bill had me on the show, I don't know, that was maybe a month ago already. And you've got a blog. It's a weekly podcast, and it's mainly for people that are over 50 years and older, kind of using their real estate as a means to fund their retirement, create a legacy for their children, their grandchildren. And of course, you've got younger listeners as well, but you're kind of geared towards that. And you have ambitious goal of owning and controlling over 1,000 units yourself within the next 6 years. So that's awesome. And some cool stuff about Bill. You were in as a missionary over in Port-au-Prince, Haiti for 12 years, I think you said, and missionary to orphaned, abandoned, and at-risk children just living on the streets, which is pretty amazing. So you did that with your wife and your family, and now we're back here doing the podcast and investing. And so with that, Bill, can you just tell us a little bit more kind of about what you've got going on and where you came from?
Sure. I mean, I had, prior to going in the mission field, I had a lot of business experience, probably 20 years in the corporate, in the entrepreneurial side of things, started in banking, got into marketing, advertising, did things like helped launch the Infinity division of Nissan Corp, and did all kinds of different celebrity events and stuff, being in Southern California. Was called into full-time ministry, and actually started as a musician doing children's music, and we played concerts all over the U.S. At camps, at churches, at all kinds of different functions, just music festivals and so forth. And we released a number of albums that were aired on over 300 radio stations around the U.S. And
Hmm.
we did that for quite a number of years. And my family traveled with me when as a musician. In fact, we had a whole band, and so on the road, my kids kind of grew up on the road, and we used to sponsor some of the events we were doing with different organizations. One of them was Compassion International, that does child sponsorships, kind of like World Vision. And my daughter Ariana, one of 7 kids I have, she really she started sponsoring a kid from Haiti and ended up falling in love with Haiti. And she just studied everything about Haiti. I mean, she was a young kid too. I mean, I'm talking 8 years old, 9 years old, and she used to go online and go to these orphanages and look at pictures of the babies and stuff, and she'd print them out on our printer and put them in notebooks, and she memorized the kids that were in orphanages in Haiti. I mean, it was
Wow.
crazy. She was just obsessed. And so we had an opportunity to do one of our concerts, or sort of a little concert tour in Haiti. And we flew over there with a bunch of people from our church. And as we were there, my daughter just, she was just confirmed how she felt about Haiti and her love for Haiti. And she had told me later on, she goes, "Dad, I'm going to build an orphanage, a hospital, a church, a school here in Haiti." And, and I was going, wow. I mean, that's, and she was like 9 years old when she told me that. And as she grew older, I kind of thought, well, yeah, she's going to do this week, but next week she's going to be president. Next week she wants to do this. And it ended up, just, one thing led to another. We actually did this tour over there, and one by one, and my family just their hearts just got taken by Haiti. And I was kind of the last one in the lineup to get involved there. But when I knew it was time, I knew it was time. And so we literally just sold everything, gave away the rest of the stuff, and hopped on a plane with, I don't know, we had like 14 plastic Rubbermaid bins with our lives in there. and boom, we went over there to actually start an orphanage. And it was an amazing, wild adventure. As I told you earlier, it's like Dickens, the best of times, the worst of times. But it's something that I'll never forget. And great activity. We still have the orphanage over there. In fact, that was part of the impetus for getting involved in real estate, was to create an income stream that would also help support our activities over there. We have some great people running things over there. We had an amazing run while we were there. As I came over here, it was funny because before I came over, I go, well, what am I going to do? While I'm in Haiti, I'm approaching 60 years old. I'm not going to go out there with my resume and try to find a job, in the areas I used to work in. So what am I going to do? And I'd started businesses. So that was my first thought. And I looked at things like online businesses and various, marketing endeavors, and, everything kind of internet based, and actually got involved in some businesses that, I was doing pretty well. And, but they just didn't, it seemed like it was going to be like full-time job. And I didn't really want to do that, because I want to be able to enjoy time with my family and in my retirement. And I got this unexpected check in the mail from an inheritance. And I was already pretty heavily vested in the stock market. I didn't feel comfortable putting it in there, and started looking around, decided to invest in real estate, just to round out my portfolio a little bit. And I did my research as best I could. And then I hopped on a plane from Port-au-Prince, flew to Atlanta, flew to Memphis, came back with 3 properties, all turnkey properties. And the next month I'm getting checks in the mail, and I'm going, well, this is cool. This is great. So as I'm evaluating what I'm going to do sort of in my retirement years, I thought, well, gee, this is pretty cool. I mean, you buy a property and you get income, and you've got the cash flow, and you've also got the equity, and for long term, this sounds like a good deal. So I started researching more. Bought another property in Indianapolis, and then I said, I'm going to set a goal here that because I for our survival, we don't require a lot, and we're real simple folks, but we want to be able to do some things in Haiti that are going to require a fair amount of funding, and we'd love to be able to do that through real estate investing. So set the goal of 1,000 units in 6 years. And so as I'm doing this, a lot of my other friends and peers that are close to my age are saying, well, tell me more about what you're doing. And I got really detailed emails from people, and I'm kind of going back and forth. And finally, I just said, well, I'm just going to put this in like sort of a blog, and that way, anybody that's interested can read it. And then it kind of grew from there into a podcast, which we do, twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and that just kind of opened it up even more. So that that's basically what we're doing in our podcast, in our blog, is focusing in on those folks who are either approaching retirement or already in retirement. So that are concerned about, well, am I going to have the cash flow to be able to do what I want to do in retirement? And on top of that, what about for the long term too? I'd love to be able to leave a legacy for my family, and that's really where our focus is we're gearing toward that audience. I feature a lot of people who are doing it, that have been very successful, that started later in life, and I share my journey as well. So it's a fun show. We've had some great guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Ken McElroy and people like that, and as well as just regular Joes that are doing it in their late 50 pluses and doing great. So that's my story in a nutshell.
So when you're talking to people on your podcast that are 50 plus, probably a lot of them are in their 60s or so, or maybe already even retired. How do you talk to them and convince them that it's not too late? Because a lot of people think, at least this is the mindset of probably my parents and a lot of other people, is it's too late. I don't want to risk my money and do anything. So they just don't want to jostle what they've got. They don't want to change what they're already doing, even though maybe they're going to run out of money or really not have anything left. How do you talk to those types of people?
Yeah, it's a difficult place. And I think it helps that I'm in the same position that they're in, in that I am, looking at this to be really the future of my retirement as well. So I'm sharing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm very detailed in some of my podcasts, and I'll just show this wonderful, get rich. You've got, you're going to have supermodels in your driveway next to your Ferraris and all that stuff. No, I mean, this is, the real deal.
Yeah.
And, we talk bed bugs, we talk, tenants that are psycho, and, we talk, all kinds of things that, that are not the greatest side of it, but they see how it's working for me, and they see how, other people that are on my show, they can see the sort of firsthand. And we have contact information when our guests are on, as we and people will contact those people to find out more if they're, they want to know more. I mean, it's not for everybody. There definitely is a commitment, and it's, you have various different avenues. There are some people, for example, they have their nest egg, they were the smart ones that, that did all the planning, and they've got, the funds, and their only concern is maintaining good returns. So, those are people that are, the most passive investors. Sometimes their investment in real estate is buying into a syndication or buying a REIT or
Yeah.
that kind of thing, very passive. And then you have the next level that that wants a property, but doesn't want to get up at 3 a.m. to go unclog toilets. So we're teaching people, especially out of state investors, which is what I am 100% is out of state, because I'm in Southern California, where cap rates are what, like 1%. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I'm investing out of state. I've got property managers that do all my stuff, and
Yeah.
if I'm doing my job right, all I have to do is really pick up the phone once a week and just say, hey, how's it going? Any new developments? Did we fill that vacancy? Whatever, just boom, and I can go on with my life. So
Well, and by the way, whether you're investing out of state or in your own backyard, you should never get a call at 3 a.m. And if you do, just don't answer it, because I've got a lot of properties, and my company manages the properties, and I managed them myself for years. I mean, just me, and never got a call at 3 a.m. I think the latest call I ever probably got was around 7, 8 p.m.
Yeah, and that to me is that I think if we manage right, we're not going to get those calls.
Right.
That call is going to go to the property manager. If it's after hours, it'll get routed to the place it's supposed to go. If it's an emergency, somebody should respond. And if it's something that can wait until the morning, then it'll wait till the morning. But as the owners, we really don't have to be in that loop. And I know some people aren't, they want the control. They want to know everything that's going on, but that'll drive you batty after a while, especially if you're going after multiple units.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and what I tell people too is that, you've got your money in the stock market, right? You got money in Walmart or Coca-Cola or Google or whatever it is. Are you calling the owner of Google? Are you calling the CEO and saying, hey, what's going on with my investment? No, you're trusting them. You're not going, flying to California to see the headquarters to make sure everything's going okay.
yeah, I mean, you definitely have to do your due diligence, and
Yeah.
you want to be responsible. I like to pop in on people that don't know I'm coming, that kind of thing, and you have your checks and balances in place, and you need to set up systems that ensure that things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. But
Yeah.
but you really, the day-to-day details, it just gets it gets ridiculous when you get into multiple units.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got, you came back later in your life. Did you have any real estate prior to or while you were in Haiti?
No, we had, I mean, the all the property we had was really owned by the organization,
Yeah.
technically. And so and that's, we're governed by a board of directors, and of course I'm the president of the board, and very active. But no, we didn't have anything. We'd sold everything before we left. So, and another thing too is I'm one of these, just I don't like credit at all. I have been debt free. I'd been debt free for 20 some odd years.
Mm.
And so when I came back, to the States, I initially bought the first 3 properties with cash, but then I realized, the cash is only going to last so long. And I was going to get a mortgage, and I realized I don't think I have a credit score, because I haven't had even a credit card in 20 years. So I had to build my credit from scratch. And so, and it was like I was gritting my teeth the whole process, from signing up with the first credit card to financing a car, and then signing up for mortgages. It was like, no, I don't want to go into debt, but that's the beauty of real estate investing, is that you've got good debt, right? So,
Right.
and that's how you get your leverage, and the leverage is what helps grow faster. So it's just a reality of what you kind of have to do, unless you've got a real long-term play. If you're a young guy, in his 20s or something, and you're, yeah, you can, wait for equity to be able to fund the next project and just keep working that way. But, for us short timers here, it's you got to move quick here.
So yeah, so tell us about that. You're an old dog, and um, can you get to 1,000 users, and how do you do it? How do you get there?
Well, the simple equation, and the equation that I started with when I initiated it, was, hey, if I just double the number of units I have at the end of 6 years, I will have 1,000. It was all exponential. And the market when I first started, was such that there was plenty to be able to say, yeah, that's going to be perfectly feasible. What I didn't anticipate is a couple of years in was, gee, it's a different market today, and especially in the multifamily area. I mean, where you have institutional investors and foreign entities that are buying up, every apartment in sight, paying over asking price, and cap rates are just compressing down to nothing, and you're going, gee whiz, this is very different than it was. So it was like, well, do you want to keep doubling every year, just to keep your goal, or do you want to buy right? And I prefer to buy right, and unless that property meets our criteria, I don't want to spend a dime on it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, you're right. I think it hit me like I didn't realize it was coming so fast. I remember sitting in a room with a panel of foreclosure real estate agents, brokers, and they all said the same thing. They said, we've got so much inventory, so much shadow inventory, that you're going to see the market. It may creep up, but it's going to be down until 2020. And you're still going to see lots of foreclosures coming on in 20, all the way through to about 2020. And that was probably 2013 or 14. And like almost the day after they said that, the market started going up fast. And so it changed in a hurry. And you're right. And right now you've got to be really patient, and you can't overpay, because, as you said, there's all these big funds and institutional buyers. They're just coming in there paying crazy prices, way more than what I could ever think of paying. And we'll see how it works out for them. They're the first ones to disappear when the market goes down, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's a real good point. And I'm sure you're doing like we're doing, is we're focusing most of our effort on off market stuff. So we're doing a lot of direct to seller focused activities to try to find those those diamonds in the rough out there.
Yeah, tell me about that. So you guys are doing direct to seller. What's that mean? How do you do it?
Well, there's a lot of different avenues that we're using. That starts really with a good list. Whether you get it through Prospect Now, ListSource, or CoStar, you go for the best list that you can get, and then you drive down with it. We'll do just regular mailings, and again, that's a repetition game, and you try to design your mailing piece to to get a response. But beyond that, then we're trying to identify owners through skip tracing and calling direct and getting people on the phone that are decision makers for those entities. And the larger you get the number of units, the more difficult that is, because if you've done your asset protection right, you've got LLCs under LLCs under LLCs, and you're trying to get to that final decision maker is not easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is especially getting phone numbers of the actual decision maker. It's easy to get the phone number of the property management company that's taking care of it, but oftentimes that's a third party property management, or even if it's a in-house property management, you're not getting a decision maker. You're getting somebody that answers the phones and does minor things, but they don't make those big decisions. So that's the biggest challenge: is how do you get in contact with the owner? I think of my LLCs, and it's well, I do syndication, so it's the parent. It's the main LLC, and then my shares are owned by my own LLC, and so it'd be difficult to get directly to me unless
Yeah.
you know me, and plus it's hard to find my phone number.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same
Everybody's
here.
got cell phones.
Right, right.
So,
No, it's under, and I have my sort of my holding LLC in Wyoming, and that's one of the states where you're not required to put a person's name in there anywhere. And
okay.
so I mean, outside of your registered agents, and they don't go anywhere.
Yep.
So you basically, they reach a dead end when they hit there. So so we have to find some really good sources. I mean, we have one guy that was yeah, I don't know. I could just say he used to work for the government, and and so he can find cell numbers of owners, and but
Hmm.
you have to pay.
Yep.
It's going to be a minimum of, yeah. I mean, it just depends on what's required, but you could be paying $5, $50 a name, and so it just depends how badly you want to get through to that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about you've had a couple businesses, and now you've got your podcast and your real estate. What's some advice about running a business successfully?
Well, I think for me, and like again, a lot of it has just been learning in the trenches. From my very first job in a bank to to owning multiple businesses, being in an internet company when the bubble burst. I mean, I just all kinds of stuff that has happened in my past, and I think that the key point is being able to pull yourself out of that business. They talk about working on your business instead of in your business. That the idea of really being able to look at it from the outside and be able to be honest with yourself, and that's something that's pretty tough, because especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're used to controlling things, doing it your way, and um just getting things done, and sometimes there's better ways to do things sometimes than the way that you're doing it or have been doing it, and you need to be willing to seek out those who can give you that other perspective. And so I feel I really I think one of the key areas we can go are, to peers or other professionals that can help us, whether it's in a mastermind group or whether these are outside coaches. But there are people that that can help you to do things better. And that is what I say from the very beginning, even if you're just starting out in real estate investing. And I say this to, the old dogs out there too, is that your first step is education. Your second step is finding a mentor. And because with all that education, yeah, you got all these great ideas, and the first thing somebody says, okay, now I got to buy a property, and you got to know what to buy and where to buy it, and there's a lot more to that. And having that mentor, the person that's been there, done that, has the experience, is invaluable. And it's not going to prevent you from making mistakes. In fact, that's probably one of the most important parts of the learning cycle itself, is actually making mistakes and learning from them, and correcting your course to do better on the next round or the next deal, whatever it may be. So that mentor part of it, and is, to me, I think, one of the most critical elements.
Do you? Do you suggest, you know, paying a professional mentor, or where do you find a mentor? What do you suggest?
Yeah, you know that there, it's easy to pay somebody. There's a lot of people willing to take your money to tell you what to do, and that's my big red flag for all beginners again too. It's just don't be aware of the upsell,
Mhm.
because you're going to start off with the free YouTube video, and you're going to end up in a webinar, and then you're going to go to one of their boot camps, and then before you know it, you've taken a loan out on your house to pay the $20,000 coaching fee. And and some of those are worth it. Some of them, hey, I know some guys, they paid the 20 or $30,000 for coaching, and uh they own millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate. So hey, that was a good investment, but it doesn't happen all the time. And a lot of it depends on us and how willing
Yeah.
we are to work. But I would say, first off, this is a relationship business. Everybody says real estate is location, location, location. I say it's relationships, relationships, relationships. That's really where you need to develop. And whether it starts off in the local Kiwanis Club, or an REI meeting, or a meetup, or whatever it may be, get out there and meet people that are doing what you want to do, and start making contacts. I mean, if you don't have any place to meet, get on Bigger Pockets and get in some forums and find some guys that live near you, and set up a meeting at Starbucks to sit down and chat. But start building up your network. And in that, hopefully you'll meet some people that could be potential mentors or coaches for you. Look at your local area. Who are the big wheelers and dealers in the real estate arena, and how can you make contact with that person? And that's one thing about that I love about podcasts, is if there's somebody I want to meet, I can just invite them as a guest, and and that's something you have a little advantage in having a podcast. And but you could also just form a group. You don't have to get into doing a podcast. You could actually form a meetup. It could be a mastermind, or it could just be let's say, a multifamily meetup, and you can invite that heavyweight person to be a speaker at your meeting. I mean, that doesn't take much. It's cheap to put on a meeting. You can do that, and you're inviting them to be a guest. You're making a contact, and you can meet them in advance and say, let's talk about what you're going to speak about, and you start to develop that relationship. So you don't have to pay to get a mentor. But there are some decent folks out there that can mentor you. But whenever people take on hundreds of different people to mentor you, you have to kind of question whether or not you're going to get the kind of individual attention you may require.
Yeah, that's a good point right there too. And there's good and there's bad about a paid mentor. I mean, the good is, if you pay them, they should be taking the time, and that should be an obligation. It should be a schedule. If you're not paying them, you can only expect so much of them. Honestly, you shouldn't expect really anything of them. So if you're not paying them and you're thinking, well, they're not giving me the time that I want, well, you're not paying them. So
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
expect it. You should be adding. That's the one thing, with the paid mentors, you don't need to add value to them, because the value you're adding to them is paying them. Where with non-paid mentor, you should be adding value back to them. It shouldn't just be a one-way street there. And that's what I would suggest to anybody who wants to find mentors, and especially if you're not going to pay them, is make sure you're creating value for them.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that one. I think that's key, is that just go to somebody and say, hey, do you want to start giving me 10 hours a week in free coaching? I
Yeah.
mean, you have to look at what your skill set is. What do I
Right.
have that would benefit this guy?
Yeah.
and you may not have anything direct. You may just say, hey, I'll come in and stamp envelopes, I'll stuff your direct mail pieces. But maybe you know how to design a website, or maybe you know how to you know fix a car, or whatever it may be. But look at your skill set and see how you might be able to apply that to helping this person out. And
Yep.
if you can add value, like you said, yeah, it's going to make that a reciprocal relationship that will benefit both parties.
Or quite simply, you might have some connections that would benefit them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You could put them in contact with somebody, yeah, that can make a difference for them.
Yeah. Well, cool. You talked about making mistakes and how that's critical and learning from those mistakes. What's one mistake that you can tell us about, and how did you learn from it?
Oh, well, let's see. You got 3 hours. We can get started here.
Yeah.
That's just scraping the top of the cake here.
Yeah,
But
right.
but yeah. I mean, in business, there's so many different mistakes that I've learned from, which are great. But I'll look at sort of the real estate side of it, because that's kind of our focus here. But um, okay, I did my research when I was ready to buy, and I went out and I bought turnkey. Okay, this was not a good decision. Okay. Granted, I got my properties, I started getting checks, but about 6 months into it, things started to fall apart. And it usually happens. And again, I'm not going to say all turnkeys are bad. I'm just going to say really, really be cautious if you're going to buy turnkey, because they make their money on the sale of that house. I mean, that really is it. They
Yeah.
go in, they buy under market distressed properties, they fix them up, they sell them. They're basically elaborate flippers, and so they're making their money up front. But then for added value, they say, hey, we'll also get a tenant in there for you, and some of them will say, and we'll also manage your property for you. So,
Yeah.
but what they do is, that part of it, they usually job out, and some of them have their in-house property management. Property management is one of those things, especially for smaller properties. It's just not a moneymaker. So even if they do have a property management firm, usually these guys have hundreds of other properties, and it's really difficult to give any kind of attention to any one person. So I latched onto a company, unfortunately, that actually had squatters in there when I bought it, so they could say they had tenants, and these people disappeared shortly after I took over the property. I mean, that was just part of the nightmare. And then they had this built-in thing that was real attractive. Hey, if you have any vacancies, we'll cover up to 6 months of your vacancy. We'll pay you, the amount that the rent is. And I was going, oh, that's great. I mean, they must really stand behind their work. Well, I think that I should have saw that as a red flag, because if I'm going to have 6 months worth of vacancies, that could be a problem. And sure enough, I was able to use that. I got paid for 6 months, and then it went into 9 months. And then I'm going, oh, well, we only guarantee up to 6 months. I'm going, how could you not, find a tenant in 9 months? I mean, I was just going crazy. So, when you do buy, buy smart, research it. I also didn't have inspections on the properties, because they had said, yeah, they went in, they gutted it, they upgraded everything, and everything was great. And so I didn't bother having an inspection. But I should have treated that like any property I would have bought, for my own use. Not Don't treat it differently because it's turnkey, and pay for the inspection, and do the market research to make sure it's in an area that is that's a good area, not a declining area. Yeah, that's, I mean, my thing is really just, as far as mistakes, I learned really big from that. And I advise against, uh, folks doing turnkey. I just to be safe. I mean, there are those people, I'm sure, that do it well, but most of the experience I've had, and I've had, multiple property managers, and I've worked with two different turnkey organizations. And I talk to a lot of people all the time that tell me their horror stories about turnkey companies. So that was my biggest mistake I learned from.
Yeah, and and I'm not going to say good, bad, or the other about turnkey and turnkey companies, but I think it goes with anything. You need to do your due diligence. You need to research that company really, really well, and then you need to research the property. Just because the turnkey company says it's a good property and it's a win doesn't mean that it's a win. Like you found out, just because they said they went through every inch of that property doesn't mean um, that's really what happened, and doesn't mean they didn't miss a lot of stuff. And just because they said it's rented doesn't really mean it's rented, and it doesn't mean it's rented in a good area for that. So if you're going to go turnkey, or really do anything, just to invest, do your due diligence.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. And that's an area that I couldn't emphasize enough is your due diligence. It ranges from researching your market that you're investing in, all the way to, inspecting, the basements and the cellars of the property that you're buying. I mean, you really, really need to know that this is a good buy, and that all the right stuff has been, just develop a checklist. There's a guest I had on my show that has a book, a due diligence book, and it's just a series of checklists. Did you check
Yep.
this? Did you check that? I mean, it talks about the loan and all the components of the loan. Because there's so many elements there. There's points. There's additional fees. There's things. All the things that you have to look at before you say yes. And each stage of that process is critical.
Yeah. Would you say, and this might not be the case, but would you say that part of your failure there was you just wanted to get some real estate? You just wanted to get started?
Yes. 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 I wanted it to be easy, and it sounded too good to be true. And it was. I mean, it wasn't that good. And, taking shortcuts is never going to, I mean, you're always going to be at such higher risk by
Yeah.
doing that. And you can't, real estate is investing. It's hard work, and you really do have to do it right. And once you build your portfolio up there, and once you set up the systems and all that stuff, yeah, you can kick back, but never completely. You still have to have your checks and balances in place. And but you do it right when you start. I think that there's just too many people selling real estate investing as just this get rich quick thing, where just put money in there. You don't have to put money down. I mean, just it's just so easy. And you're just going to be, again, you're out in your driveway with the bikini supermodels and the Ferraris. It's just come on, let's just get real. It is a lot of upfront hard work, and if you're willing to do it and do it right, yeah, it's one of the best investments I know of out there. And I've invested in a lot of different things, and I think it's amazing investment. But again, it goes back to the due diligence part.
It's funny that you say the cute girl in the Ferrari in the driveway. I love seeing the Facebook or whatever, the post with the guy, and he's got the Ferrari or whatever it is, that the fancy car in the background. One of my friends said, "Oh, you should rent a luxury car and and do a video with." And I said, "You know what? If I were to have either own or rent a luxury car, I said I wouldn't show it in a video. I would go rent the most beat up, trashed out car I could find and have that in the video, because I don't want people to think that this gig is easy. And just because as you get more experienced with it, it becomes easier. And even that, it doesn't not necessarily always become easier. It shouldn't, because you should be challenging yourself. But um, I don't want to portray that, because it, as you did as well, is it kicks your butt in the
Mm.
in the start, and you better be busting your butt, or you're not going to have success in it. And so,
Yeah, I always wanted to do the video where the real estate investor is sitting on the floor of some bathroom, sort of with the plumber pants, you know, and turning around to the camera saying, "Yeah, you can have the good life too." I mean, that's probably more real. Now, granted, I haven't had to do any plumbing yet, but I mean, it is it whether you're working hard, from your desk at home or whatever it is, there is a lot of work involved to do it right, and that's I think that just people have to be realistic and uh, yeah, but I think it's one of those things you invest, you do the right stuff up front, and in the end, you really will have just this good steady flow of cash, and building equity and
Yeah.
value and net worth and all that good stuff that'll come with it if you do the right things up front.
Yep. Perfect. Um, Three key factors to your success, or that you've kind of learned from doing your show from other people. What are three key factors to having success?
Um, I think that one of the key things, at least from my standpoint, is being able to have that. I'm an early riser. I wake up like super early, and I've done this since I really launched owned my first business. I mean, I'm up at 4 o'clock. I can't sleep past 4, um, and it's just one of those things that kicks in. And at first, I was going, "No, I want to sleep in." I was, trying to force myself to sleep in, but I realized that those early morning hours are my best, most productive times, and that is really a cherished time. I'd say like between 4 and 6 and 4 and 7, somewhere around there. That's my most quality time. And phones ringing. For the most part, they're not going to be texting anybody or what have you. And the problem is I'm on the West Coast here, so I have East Coast property, or at least East Coast timeline properties. So I do actually sometimes have some calls sneak in there, but I really try to preserve that time. And I'm a planner. I've been writing business plans and marketing plans since I got started in business, and I think that that's a really important component. That it be not just something that sits on your shelf, but something that it's like a living document that you work with on a day-to-day basis, and you refine it and you revise it, and you should always be trying to also create a manual along those same lines for your business, so that if you were just to hand it over to somebody, they could just take this manual and they would be able to do everything that you do. And so I try to document everything that I do, and try to create systems that make things more efficient. One of the things that's been frustrating about the market right now and trying to find the properties, actually one of the positive things that I've experienced, is that what it's caused me to do is to look more at the properties I do have and try to make those more efficient. And what can I do to make this even more profitable? What can I do to make this a better property for my tenants? What can I do? And so I see myself refining and doing the kinds of things that are going to make that property in the long run an even more valuable property. So I don't know if that's three things or not, but those are some of the key things that I have really looked at. Getting up early, writing a plan and living that plan, and really looking what you have, and trying to make it more efficient.
Cool. Cool. Um, what's a favorite book?
My favorite book is the Bible, man. That's where I get some of my best business advice right there. But as far as like an overall book, that I would use in like business or something like that, or just in um, gosh, that is a tough one. I would say as far as real estate, my thought processes and everything changed when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm sure you've heard that a million times, like I have on my show. It changed the way I thought about business and life and a lot of other things. So besides the Bible, I would say as far as real estate's concerned, Rich Dad Poor Dad really just changed my thought processes there.
Cool. Um, and last is, what's your definition to obtaining financial freedom?
Wow. Okay. that's a heavy question, actually. um, this is something I think I've probably even written about, and yet I'm kind of drawing a blank here. But I think that financial freedom really is. I don't know. To me, it's more of a process that you get involved with. Just in the way that you manage your life. If you can manage your life and manage the things in your life, and I'm not just talking about finances, I'm talking about your personal life, I'm talking about your family, your marriage, all these various elements. To me, I think that's that's kind of key, is that your financial freedom comes when you've got the other freedoms covered. And there's a great book, Life and Air. I don't know if you've.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I think
yeah,
it's something life in there. Yep.
yeah. And I actually had the the author of the book on my show, and I just thought it was really neat, because a lot of people are looking at, okay, what does it take to be a millionaire, and that being rich doesn't necessarily being rich doesn't necessarily guarantee a happy or extraordinary life. Okay.
Yep.
So, and I think the whole idea of it is that, you really need to look at, because there's people, that plenty of rich people that are miserable. And so, and I think the whole premise, Steve Cook was the author of the book. And the whole idea was that first you need to focus on your life. Okay. And the money will come in, and that will come a lot more easily if you've managed the other parts well. And that means, your marriage and your kids, and those things being priorities. You get the money to be able to support that aspect of your life, which really will result in true happiness. Money is not going to bring you the happiness. And I know there's plenty of folks out there that say that. Yeah, it'll take away some stress. It'll also create some stress too. But the idea is really, focus on your life first. Don't sacrifice your marriage to become rich. Don't miss your kids, soccer game, because you've got this big business deal coming up. Get your priorities straight, and you'll know real freedom. And the funds will come easily, but it's a matter of managing. And I'd recommend anybody to read that book. It is a great book, and it really talks about the idea of being a life an heir, not $1 million an heir. You're looking at being successful and happy in life, and a lot of people say, well, the money will make me happy, and that's not always the case. It can cause some miserable things there, and if you don't put it in its place. So
I think the money amplifies what your state is. So if you're a miserable person and you become wealthy, you're going to become a very miserable person. If you're extremely happy and balanced, and you've got a good family life and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be even more that way as you have money. So I think money just basically pronounces whatever state you're in.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. I think that's really true, is that and a lot of people, their intentions are so great. I'm going to become wealthy so that I can give my kids what I never got to have, so that I can make my wife's life better, so that we can live in a home that we're comfortable. I mean, their intentions are always good, and it does focus a lot on families. But what people sacrifice to get there, they don't have to. And you can still be a millionaire and successful financially, But you've got to get your priorities right first. If your family is your main motivation, and and those things that really matter, then that's where you need to sort of put life first,
Yep.
and the other stuff will follow.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Well, and we were talking before the show, and this kind of goes along with it, and what you talked about at the beginning with you and your family, gave yourselves to, orphans and people in Haiti, and for 12 years, and that was during a time in your life where most people are making the most amount of money that they will make during that time, and you were very selfless. And, but before we started recording, you had said that was, besides the birth of your kids and your wedding and some of the family stuff, that was, the best and most positive time of your life. And so it just goes to show you that, it's not like, well, maybe I'm putting it in words in your mouth, but it's not like you were rich when you're over in Haiti. You're dealing with a lot of stuff over there, and you had the best time of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, and I was, trying to share with you too. I mean, I would say, the best events of my life were, my marriage and the
Yeah.
birth of my children and so forth. But I will tell you, as far as a season in my life, and I've been everywhere. I've been, very successful. I was elected to public office at 18 years of age. I was a vice president of a bank at 21. I mean, I had all these things that in the world you'd look at and say, oh, these are great accomplishments, and I've been on television shows and all kinds of different things. But, really to me, it was this place that we were at that, nobody even knew we were there for the most part. That was the most amazing season of my life. I mean, yeah, we had some of the scariest times. We had attempted kidnap. My wife and daughter almost got kidnapped. We had malaria and dengue fever. We've seen the death like almost on a daily basis. We experienced some of the toughest things in the world. Been through the earthquake, the hurricanes, some major riots where there was no police anywhere in sight, no law enforcement. I mean, just crazy chaos type of situations. But gosh, I mean, to see the stuff that God did and to be a part of that, to me was absolutely the pinnacle of my life. And to me, I think too, it's kind of what you said. If you just step back and really really focus on things other than yourself and what you're going to do, you'll be blessed. You'll be blessed. And we were beyond measure, beyond understanding. I mean, I cannot think of any time in my life that I can say comes anywhere near that experience.
Yeah, man, I could keep on talking to you for, hours on this exact topic, because it's, very, very near and dear to kind of what, where I want to be, and a lot of things that I want to do in my life has a lot to do with kind of that. So I could talk to you forever, but we're running out of time. So maybe we'll have you on and we'll do a whole episode on on giving back, because that's pretty cool. So well, we're going to wrap up. So let's talk about how our listeners can get in touch with you and in your podcast.
Well, sure. Probably the best place to reach us. I mean, our podcast is on iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and all the other stuff out there. Any place that has podcasts, we're probably listed. But our website also has all of our episodes. It has, in addition to that, has a bunch of articles, all of which are geared toward. And there's a whole resources area too, where you can find stuff for free, that will help you in at least evaluating whether or not real estate investing is for you. And once you evaluate it and you want to do it, then there's a lot of real practical how-to stuff too. To, again, the education part is to help you to reduce your, maybe the severity of your mistakes. We'll all make mistakes, and it doesn't matter how much training or how great a mentor you have, you're still going to make mistakes, but you just reduce the severity of it by being better educated, by having a good mentor, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff there, and the website address is Old Dawgs REI Network, and of course the Dogs part of it is DAWGS. Okay, so it's Old Dawgs REI for Real Estate Investing Network.com.
Perfect.
And they just go there, and everything's there, and links to all our other stuff.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that in the show notes. I appreciate you taking time and being on the show, and tons of value you've added. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate what you do, Todd. I'm very much impressed with your story. You were a great guest, and then I happened to catch you on Joe Fairless's show, and and it was great. There was a whole bunch of new stuff. I said, hey, I should have asked that question. No, but your approach is really methodical, and I think it's a good approach, and that's why you're successful and will continue to grow and do well. It's just you're real down to earth, which is great, and I think it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, sir, and you have a fantastic rest of the day.
I certainly will. Well, thanks, Todd, and you have a great day too.
A special thanks to Bill Manassero for joining us on the podcast. And a few things I took from this episode. First of all, he talked about pulling yourself out of your business and looking from the outside, and then, just obviously reflecting on your own. But then he also talked about getting mentors, getting the key people, other people to look at your business and tell you, what could you strengthen your business? What could you do? Who do you need to bring into it? All that kind of stuff. So pull yourself out, look from the outside, and seek those who can do things better than you as well. I talked about that too. The other thing he talked about is doing it right from the start, and make sure, obviously you're acting in the right way. You're trustworthy. You communicate properly with people. You work with integrity, and because your name is only so valuable, and you're extremely valuable, I should be saying. And if you mess it up, it's really, really hard to gain that trust back, even though if you do things right from then on. It's just, if you've already essentially messed your name up, it's going to be hard to change that. And then the last thing is, he talks about creating a manual for your business, and make sure that you've got the systems in place, and create that manual so that you can essentially step away from the business and still have some of the efficiencies. And so you can, as you grow, you can have the right systems in place to continue to grow and grow effectively. So again, thanks for Bill Manassero. Go to Old Dawgs REI Network, and you can check out what he's doing. Old Dawgs, DAWGS REI network.com. You can check out his podcast, check what he's doing, and get in touch with him. And that is it. So I'm Todd Dexter. I'm signing off. Make sure every day is a Saturday. Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with homeinvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com/pillars to claim your free course today.